Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Shoro, and I am Toothless Tiger. Coming to you today with a follow-up on a story that I did 2 days ago in reference to DA Fonnie Willis and her assistant DA Adrian Love. You know, it's a peculiar thing about doing this YouTube. When I first came to YouTube, I came as being inspired, and I'm telling this to all of the new people that look at me. I hope that you will find this video entertaining, educational, enlightening, and humorous. I do this to share my 65 years of life. I retired on disability at the age of 52. And I'm still here, and I'm grateful. I was born with a 3rd-degree heart block, and then after 40 years of having a pacemaker, I now have congestive heart failure. So what I do is, for a very long time, nothing. And then I saw this young man that came on YouTube, and I was really impressed with his storyline. Unfortunately, he didn't live up to the story or the line. But he inspired me to share my life, my knowledge, my skills, my abilities, my wisdom, my humor. And so I decided to come to YouTube. I came with 3 subscribers. Never in a million years did I think I'd ever reach the 1,000 to be monetized. But for 2 years, I was at 1,300. And then I made it to 1,370. And then I got bullied. And that was a pivotal moment for me. A lot of the people unsubscribed and quit coming to my chat, and that's okay. I can't change who I am and why I'm here. I can participate in anything that anybody do and say on YouTube. That's not my purpose. So I'm just here to fulfill a purpose, and hopefully you all will tune in, listen to what I have to say, agree or disagree, it's your choice, and keep coming back. So if you like anything that you hear, or if you like the work that I've done, please feel free to like, subscribe, share with others, and leave a comment. If you like what you hear and you think it is worth it for you, hit the thanks button. And I really have a problem with the word thanks. I'd rather say thank you. It's more personal to me. But since YouTube says thanks, hit the thanks button or the Cash App. It is your choice. Please don't let your inability to do either one of those, or your desire not to, stop you from coming. Because you're going to hear something, hopefully, that you didn't know, and that you can go and research and build on. That's what I did. As I sat here in pain most of the time, out of breath, I did a lot of reading, which I was a reader always. But I did a lot of reading and started researching who were we before we were called slaves. It was astounding what I found out. And the thing that I found out is our identity was stolen, and our very birthright was taken from us. And as I researched the history and learned that we're all unalienable humans, and we all have these rights that the Constitution does not give, it ensures. I look at the criminal justice system. They say it's the best system in the world. I view it as the injustice system, and perhaps it is the best in the world. Because all over we know people suffer. I do not run from punishing the guilty. But what I think about is the innocent. That's what made this story about Fonnie Willis and now Adrian Love so very important. When you look at a woman who came from nothing, and when I say nothing, I don't mean her family values, her humanness. I mean socioeconomics. And I know that they were not poor because her father was an attorney, but not all attorneys make money. And she managed to go through school and gain an education and swore to help the people. Worked in the DA's office for 16 years before she decided to leave the office. And as I looked at the qualifications of a DA in Georgia, I would believe, and I'm just giving you my opinion, so opinions do not have to be right. They can be wrong, but they only belong to the person who express it. You can, again, agree or disagree. It's your choice. Doesn't matter to me. Get a lesson. Learn something from what I say. That is my hope for each and every one of you that's listening to the sound of my voice. Unfortunately, I just can't jump into a story. I'm a storyteller. I'm a Scorpio. We're very dramatical. And we have to do it our way. So a lot of people are not going to like my channel, and that's okay. Because I know that I tell some great work. And we all do on YouTube. But I don't get all of those views, all of those subscribers, all of the donations. And I don't cry about it. Because this is my purpose. And they told me if I do what I love, and if I did it, even if I would do it for free, the people and the money will come. And if it never comes, and I satisfy my purpose, I would say my job is well done. And I truly love what I do. So I'm sorry if it takes me too long to get to the story. Sometimes I'll be listening to people and I'm like, get to it, get to it, get to it. So I understand that feeling. And if you feel that way about me, I can dig it. But I wanted to go back to a story that's one touched my heart. It's State Representative Mesha Mainor, who was once a Democrat, and she changed parties and went to a Republican. And I am a true believer that the Democrat and the Republican are wings of the same bird. It's up to the individual and their integrity and their values and their ability to be honest. You see, because I'm told and ever so reminded that we all are imperfect beings. So it doesn't matter which wing you are. It's where you stand in the face of making a decision to do right or to do wrong. And that is a you factor, because only you can make that decision. But she wanted to be something great. And she set out to run for office. And she had a person working in her campaign, and they became friends. But it's something about that person that she didn't quite like. And so she had to let that person go. And they started stalking her. And what touched me so is because I was bullied and stalked here on YouTube. I connected with that. And I wanted to tell her story. And I told part of her story, but it made me dig deeper. So I showed the other day, I believe it was Sunday, the video that she gave the conference when she filed her complaint. And we're going to hear this story, and I'm going to show you a few videos, and hopefully, just hopefully, we can make it through the videos. I'll do my best. But I want to start with the video. When she gave the press conference. Let me find it. One of the reasons they say sometimes that my computer buffs so is because of the windows that I have open. And I do my best to try to close them out as soon as I finish using them, because I don't have the ability to edit. And believe it or not, I hate technology. But I know that we all have to use technology. So knowing that we have to use technology, I just have to do the best that I can. And I had my article ready, but I don't see my article that I had ready to go, because this is the one I wanted to start with. I wanted to start with the article. I want to start with the article that I wasn't able to complete. And I see everything but my article. And so give me a moment. Just when you think you got it all together, and I do this all the time. I tell y'all, I work hard. And sometimes it gets a little funny. I have to laugh. Let me go back and look here. And let me find it again in amongst all of my emails. I have it here. Okay, let's see. Let's go down to the bottom, because it's normally where it starts back at the bottom. Okay, the rest of the interview. Here it is, here. I had it where I wanted it. Unfortunately, I won't be able to put up my closed caption, and I won't be able to put it up because it's not on YouTube. It's on I have a spot that I wanted to start.
Excuse for anyone to violate, harass, intimidate, or stalk.
I'm gonna take this.
Trust your
back
instincts and take steps to protect yourself.
Okay, as I stated, and some of you may have never seen the one that I did on Sunday. On Wednesday. But this is where it left off. And so I want to go to where it left off. I don't want to go through the whole video, but she's telling you who she is. And you'll hear about that as I read the documents. But I'd like for you to hear her story. And I wanted you to hear, more than anything, the individuals that are there standing in solidarity with her. And that too reminded me of me, because I had 4 individuals that stood in solidarity with me. And it really makes a difference. Even though you're willing, able, and ready to fight on your own, it really makes you feel good to know that people that you just met on the internet believe in you enough to stand with you and say, my hashtag, not me. So let's go. And again, we're completing the part of the interview where she introduces the individuals that helped her and supported her. And she's allowing them to speak their truth. And this is courtesy of Fox 5. And this was done on April 30th, 2024 is when this was posted.
I'm going to have LA Pink from the Street Groomers come and speak.
Good evening, everyone. I am LA Pink. I am the president and first lady of Street Groomers. I stand here today in honor of our state representative, Mesha Mainor. I hate that she has to endure the things that she has had to endure, but we've been talking about this for years.
There's no excuse for anyone to violate, harass, intimidate, or stalk you. Trust your instincts and take steps to protect yourself. I'm going to have LA Pink from the Street Groomers come and speak.
Good evening, everyone. I am LA Pink. I am the president and first lady of Street Groomers. I stand here today in honor of our state representative, Mesha Mainor. I hate that she has to endure the things that she has had to endure, but we've been talking about this for years. The abandonment that Funny Willis have left, the abandonment that she have left to the families that have lost. To the jail, to the streets, and the police brutality. We have Nigel Collins. We have Jamarian Robinson. We have Kane Rogers. We have Jimmy Atchison. These cases are indicted cases that have been left undone. Money that have been gathered from our commissioners to attack these situations that have not been addressed yet. We have a young man that have been in jail for 5 years, waiting for just a trial, waiting to see a judge, and have not yet seen a judge. There are so many things that she can be doing instead of chasing Trump and chasing after the YSL case. A case with the YSL that we feel that is more of a love affair and a retaliation of someone that's in the indictment. So today we stand here because enough is enough.
My district is somewhat big. I wanted to get some leaders from all sides. I'm going to have Mr. Mike Roberts come up and speak.
Good morning. My name is Mike Russell. I'm a resident here in Atlanta, and I stand this morning humbled and proud to be with Representative Mainor and LA Pink. These are two very strong, courageous women that do everything in their power to help those who are less fortunate, those who feel powerless in our county and in our city. LA Pink, for those of you who don't know her, she fights every day for the homeless, for the victims of our society. She feeds them out of her own pocket. Representative Mainor has done nothing but reach out and try to help everybody in our community, starting with the youngest amongst us. And I am appalled at what's happening in our community today. And it is time to end the cult of corruption here in Fulton County, starting with DA Fani Willis. She has done everything for Why is she in New York and DC raising funds to be reelected? I've had victims come to me. I'm not a public official, but they know that I will stand up for a mother and a daughter whose loved one was murdered over a year ago. Their trial of the perpetrator keeps being delayed because Fani Willis says she has more important things to do. What is more important than a murder trial? And this guy is out on bail with an ankle bracelet, and he's a previously convicted felon. Just this week, I had a businessman who had $30,000 stolen from him. The perpetrator, a known felon, had a large screen, flat screen television delivered to her residence. Atlanta Police Department did the investigation, handed the evidence to Fani Willis' office. Without contacting the victim, she dismissed the case. And then you have the overcrowding in the jail because she fails to prosecute when we have people there up to 5 years who have not seen a judge in a jail that's being mismanaged by Sheriff Labatt. The culture of corruption needs to end. And they're all together. Sheriff Labatt, Fani Willis, Marvin Arrington, Natalie Hall. You see one, you see them all. And every one of them have violated the trust of the public. Natalie Hall cost us $1 million stalking a victim. She was not charged by Fani Willis, her friend. Let me say that again for those of you who don't know. Commissioner Hall cost the taxpayers of Fulton County $1 million because she stalked her victim that worked for her, planted tracking devices in his vehicle. She was not prosecuted by our DA Fani Willis. Why? This corruption in Fulton County needs to end, and our lawmakers need to take them and hold them to account. And I'm hoping that the voters of Fulton County are paying attention and will vote for a clean slate of candidates and stop this cult of corruption in our county.
I have 2 more individuals that have been personally impacted.
My name is Joel Watley. My last name is W-H-A-T-L-E-Y. I'm the father of Casey Watley, who's been incarcerated in Fulton County Jail for 5 years now. And as we're starting to see, there's a pattern of corruption within the district attorney's office. My son, like I say, has been incarcerated 5 years. The attorney he had was a current, a prior district attorney who had worked with Fani Willis previously. They came back and stated that they found evidence in my son's case after there was no evidence. They came back and said they found evidence and they had found fingerprints. Well, it came to find out in court that that was a lie. They said a second testing had been done and my son's fingerprints were found on the scene, and that was a lie. The attorney, Darrell Korn, tried to get my son to take a 20-year plea deal by falsifying evidence. And as you can see, corruption is just running rampant within Fulton County Jail. It's time for something to be done, man. We got to do something. Y'all allowing these kids to be locked up, knowing that lady is corrupt. She spent the money that was meant to help the kids, and then she RICO'd them. She RICO'd all the young people after she spent the money that was meant to help them, to create a safe environment for them not to have to be out here in these gangs. It's time to do something to clean up Fulton County. Start today. You got over 800 people in that jail who shouldn't be there. haven't been indicted, they won't take them to trial. How is that justice? And you know what the crazy thing is? Fulton County sit back and watch it.
As a parent, you can feel his pain, and especially a parent of an Asiatic male. Some may wonder, why do I say Asiatic? Once upon a time, the landmass was known as Asia. We are indigenous people to the land. We have a bloodline. And the last known name before we fell in 1492 was Moor, from the Moabite woman, which all life flows from her loins. So, actually I could say in her matrix, which is her womb, all human life. So our nation is Asiatic, and that's why I say that. We're the people that allow people to call us black, Negro, colored, African American, whatever. But it saddens me to know that this could be any of our sons, daughters. It could even be us. You look at the news every day. Crime is no respecter of person, nor ethnicity. Dick Gregory used to say, you kill where you live. Unfortunately, with drugs being rampant throughout the United States, now you can be unalived anywhere. I do my best to follow the guidelines and the rules, the terms of service. The censorship is almost unreal because I'm only reporting a story. But sometimes the wording can be a problem. So I'll do my best to adhere to the rules. But sometimes I may use a word, and hopefully it does not trigger anybody. That is not my desire. My desire is to help uplift fallen humanity. And that's why we're going to hear this next story. And this is where it cut off in the middle of this gentleman's story. But this video should take us to the end.
Good morning. My name is J. Wesley Day. That's J-E apostrophe space Wesley, W-E-S-L-E-Y, Day, D-A-Y, David Apple Yellow. I want to first give an honor to God who's head of my life, and I want to thank you, Representative Mainor, for giving me the courage to tell my story. In 2018, I was beaten in a hate crime. They called me homophobic slurs, fags, sissies, and I videotaped my assailants. You would think that it would be an open, shut case, but instead, the criminal justice system here in Fulton County vilified me. They first charged me, then they upgraded that to a felony. My job with Delta Airlines because I reported to Delta that I had a pending misdemeanor. Delta was the one who came and told me that I had a pending felony. As a result, fast forward nearly 6 years later, none of my assailants have been prosecuted. In fact, they dismissed the case without informing me. In fact, they have barred me from the 3rd floor of Fonnie Willis' office in a sense to silence me. No one notifies me of court hearings. No one notifies me of plea deals. This is not justice. There was court yesterday, once again, with one of my assailants. No one notified me of that court hearing. Fonnie Willis's chief investigator approached me afterwards, asking me, what can they do to make this go away? They told me that I perhaps should be spending more time with my ill mother than focusing on justice. Again, I've been vilified as a witness. As a result, now Fonnie Willis is telling me if I continue on fighting this case, she is going to charge me with extortion. How? How did I get charged with affray? How did that affray charge get upgraded to a felony? How am I now facing extortion charges for me being beaten and I have it on camera? I just ask you all to help me make it make sense, please. And Representative Mainor, thank you for this time today.
As you can see, if you have been the victim, you're passionate. Some victims take it, some victims refuse to take it and keep fighting for justice. I will answer a few questions. You know, it's been over 6 years, and I have been silent about it. I've gone behind the scenes trying to seek justice for myself. This is the last straw. And the good thing about the media that I have learned over the course of being an elected official, you guys actually help people in the community get justice. Now I'm just the community asking for justice. The ideal outcome is, I don't even know what that looks like anymore. Maybe her just admitting that what she did. I would be happy if she admitted what she did. Admit that you were conflicted. Admit that you were talking to Marvin Arrington about my case before you were even elected. Admit that you know who the judges are. You named them. Admit all of those things. My family has endured. I have 2 young daughters. You know, you never know why you're going through things. For all I know, it's so my daughters would be prepared for something like this. They are prepared because they have witnessed me go through this. I want justice, and as far as details, I can tell you that it's been 6 years of anguish, and as far as specifics, we've asked for a jury trial. Fonnie Willis in her personal and professional capacity, Commissioner Marvin Arrington in his personal and professional capacity, and the Fulton County Ethics Board that repeatedly did not follow their own procedures. I'm happy to. So when I initially filed my restraining order, Paul Howard was in office. He indicted the case. This is before my stalker had Marvin Arrington as his attorney. It was also towards the end of the year, so Fonnie Willis was on the verge of being elected. The first time that, I believe the first time around the time where he was in jail for violating the restraining order, and Marvin Arrington was his attorney, Marvin Arrington told the courts that DA Paul Howard had given him, instead of a felony stalking charge, he gave him a misdemeanor stalking. There was no record of that. He was insistent that Paul Howard gave him that. My stalker wanted to go to trial for this, and by the time we got to about a year later, because an emergency bond revocation was all in the middle of that, but after about a year, the judge pretty much said, you know what, let's put DA Paul Howard on the witness stand and let him say if he gave Marvin Arrington this misdemeanor plea deal. And that is when miraculously a plea deal was given, and I was not notified. The connection is victims. This today is about victims. And DA Fonnie Willis is the chief court officer from the state in Fulton County. She directly impacts what is happening in the jail. I can't be concerned about Donald Trump. I have to be concerned about myself and my children. No, because my children and myself are the priority.
He said that this lawsuit is baseless and frivolous and it's a desperate attempt to extract public funds from First Brigade. When you say that you want justice, is money part of that?
I would say, why don't you do an open records request and see how much money Marvin Arrington has spent of the taxpayers' dollars for his personal lawsuits. Every year I have been up here fighting for stalking and domestic violence. I've done that since the moment I walked in. Every year we do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. I would love for the state of Georgia to take a greater effort towards victims and do a leap. We do a leap for many things, and unfortunately we are not leaping for the safety of victims. Most of these victims, whether you're talking about domestic violence and stalking or being unindicted, just left in the jail, many times it results in a lethal situation. People die.
The debate over 2 years about the prosecuting attorney's qualification counsel is that the counsel is not going to second guess individual charges.
Right now, I'll tell you the reason why I supported the Association Qualification, Attorneys Qualification Commission. Because if you have right now, it is too difficult to file a bar complaint against them. If you want to file an ethics complaint against someone, up until just maybe 10 days ago, you couldn't even file an ethics complaint against them. This PAC commission is the first time it is giving victims one more opportunity that may be a little bit more practical for them to get justice. I will not answer any questions about my stalker. I will not answer any questions about my stalker. That is not, I have not done that yet. Right now I'm pursuing this lawsuit. Thank you, guys.
Across the country, farmers are dealing with
Hopefully that you were able to hear without all the interruptions, and I know that we had plenty of interruptions. Now I want to go on and take you over to Mr. Arrington. Let me find him. Mr. Arrington is a commissioner, and I thought it was awfully strange that a commissioner could be able to actually practice law and hold an office as a commissioner. And that's according to the Constitution of the United States, in which he swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. You will find later, as I read in her paperwork and also a news article, that once she brought that to the attention of the Ethics Committee, he mysteriously just got off the case. We are victimized in so many ways that we don't understand. And if we don't have the tenacity to fight, unfortunately, what we're going through will just be another go through. You have to have the fortitude, and you have to be truly in tune with whomever and whatever you believe in, to have the will and the desire to stand in your truth. No matter who like it, no matter who comes along, you have to know in your knower that what you're doing is the right thing for you and for maybe others to come after you. So here we go. I want you to see the arrogance of this young man, and I'm not one to play the whole thing, but I will have the links in the description. I've read a lot of different articles about this case, and in one article I found earlier on in my research that he and Fonnie Willis went to the same law school. So they're good friends, and you will find just hearing different ones testify and what they don't know and what they should know, that you will find that this is a close-knit community of Asiatic individuals with power to control people's lives, to misuse, and they're actually doing it. We love to speak on, as Asiatics, how the European keeps us down. And we do know the history, but we need to start understanding that everybody that looks like us don't care for us. They don't see us as being people that deserve an opportunity. I need you all to remember that.
Motives and intentions. This is not, I've said this for the last 4 or 5 years. This is not how you set a budget. You don't set a millage rate and then you find out how much you gotta use first. You find out how much the DA's office needs, how much the sheriff's office needs, how much these other departments need, and then set the budget. You set your budget based off of needs. Oh, this is what we had last year. Oh, we're trying to get the millage rate low again. Oh, we don't care if 1,500 rapists and murderers go running free. We want to have the lowest millage rate ever. Let all the rapists out. Let all the murderers out. We want to have a low millage rate. That doesn't make any sense. Cooperate with these people. They shouldn't have to come here, Mr. Herman, Ms. Whitmore. They should not have to come here and beg for money. So, can somebody, anybody tell me why this evidence building is not on the agenda today? No one? No one? Has anyone ever heard of the building before?
So, Commissioner Arrington, I'm not sure why the original, Madam D, I'll address you as well, Commissioner. I'm not sure why the original evidence facility was not on the agenda today. We met with your staff not a week ago to view the consolidated warehouse that
I don't know anything about a consolidated warehouse. My brother doesn't know anything about a consolidated warehouse. I'm not sure that I would approve a warehouse with departments I'm investigating, but when you don't consult the DA and you have her staff spend 1,000 hours and 28 meetings and his staff spend 1,000 hours and 28 meetings on the warehouse we were told would be on the agenda. And madam, I want to be really respectful. We were asked.
Nothing about this DA is respectful. And she said she didn't know anything about the warehouse. Now they are having thousands of hours and 28 meetings. People of Georgia, I really need you all to hear this. And I don't know how many of you will even look at it. But we really, 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 really need you guys to really take this time. Early voting, I think, starts in your town as early as Monday. And voting, I believe, is on the 21st. This is a very serious issue for your children that we believe to be your future. Maybe it's not going to happen for you. But we have too many people that came before us that wanted nothing but the best for us. And they gave us their best with the knowledge that they had. We are in the information age, and we have an opportunity today to learn more than we've ever had an opportunity to learn. And if you can't read, it's okay. A lot of this information, you can put it on a voice. You have audiobooks. You can go to the library. You can get help in understanding. Your local elections are the most important. They are the ones that govern you as citizens of that state.
Team brings you a rare glimpse behind bars in a case involving a man accused of stalking a woman who went on to be elected to the state legislature.
The I-Team has obtained jailhouse phone calls in which an Atlanta businessman accused of stalking Representative Mesha Mainor lashed out at her while in jail. Senior I-Team reporter Dale Russell has this exclusive report.
Through all this, were you scared?
Absolutely.
In 2019, Mesha Mainor was running to be an Atlanta City Councilwoman when she told a volunteer campaign worker he could no longer work for her.
Tonight is $3 Saturday right here at the pool. Y'all know how we do it.
This is the volunteer, Corwin Monson, on his Instagram page promoting the La Cura nightclub. According to his LinkedIn page, he's the managing partner of the bar and owner of both film and music companies.
He immediately started retaliating against me. He filed an ethics complaint against me. He went to work with the other campaign.
Mainor says it got worse. She filed a petition for a protective order in July of 2019, claiming Corwin Monson showed up to her home on average 2 to 3 times a week, joined her church, called 10 times a day, and warned her that he was going to f her up A judge granted her request.
It really got to the point where I had to have my volunteer.
Tonight, our Fox 5 I team brings you a rare glimpse behind bars. Fox 5 I team brings you a rare glimpse behind bars in a case involving a man accused of stalking a woman who went on to be elected to the state legislature.
The I team has obtained jailhouse phone calls in which an Atlanta businessman accused of stalking Representative Mesha Mainor lashed out at her while in jail. Senior I team reporter Dale Russell has this exclusive report.
Through all this, were you scared?
Absolutely.
In 2019, Mesha Mainor was running to be an Atlanta City Councilwoman when she told a volunteer campaign worker he could no longer work for her.
Tonight, it's $3 Saturday right here in the cool. Y'all know how we do it.
This is the volunteer, Corwin Monson, on his Instagram page promoting the La Cura nightclub. According to his LinkedIn page, he's the managing partner of the bar and owner of both film and music companies.
He immediately started retaliating against me. He filed an ethics complaint against me. He went to work with the other campaign.
Mainor says it got worse. She filed a petition for a protective order in July of 2019, claiming Corwin Monson showed up to her home on average 2 to 3 times a week, joined her church, called 10 times a day, and warned her that he was going to f her up. A judge granted her request.
It really got to the point where I had to have my volunteers be my bodyguards.
Weeks later, Mainor filed a police report claiming Monson violated the restraining order. She claims Monson showed up at her church, Friendship Baptist, sitting in the church just looking at her. According to police report, Atlanta officers arrested Monson here off of North Avenue on a felony aggravated stalking charge. He was released on bond. But it didn't end there. Monson was arrested a year later on another aggravated stalking charge for contacting Representative Mainor via Facebook, according to this police report. Monson was locked up again in December of last year. He's still in jail after pleading not guilty and is awaiting trial.
Praise God, he is in jail. I feel a little bit safer.
A month after the arrest, Mesha Mainor was sworn in as the new state representative from the 56th District in Atlanta. While Representative Mainor waits for her case to go to trial, the I team got a behind these jailhouse walls. Through an open records request, we got recordings of phone calls made in jail to his wife and lawyer. In the calls, Monson lashed out at the woman he's accused of stalking.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
Inmates make calls from jail but are told up front someone could be listening.
I don't want that being no state rep. Now let's play hardball.
Still, Monson showed anger in one call with his wife and to his then attorney, Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington. He claimed Mesha Mainor lied under oath during a hearing and stole lawn equipment from him. She told us both claims are not true. On one of the calls, Monson said he will stay in prison for 10 years if he has to get back at her.
But I want that shut down.
We let Representative Mainor hear the recording.
The fact that he would say he will stay in jail for 10 years out of sheer hate for me, like that's crazy. If a judge lets him out, what do you think he's going to do to me?
Then at the end of one conversation, Monson tells his wife he wants Representative Mainor criminally charged with theft and perjury.
My fight is, you gotta take that out. I'm not playing no games with this.
Representative Mainor, once again, finds it threatening.
That needs to go to the DA's office. He's telling a Fulton County commissioner, I want to take a citizen out. How would that make you feel?
Commissioner Arrington withdrew as attorney in Corwin Monson's case and did not respond to repeated requests for comments. Monson's new attorney, Christy Gladden, wrote us to say, we've only heard the prosecution Her client's innocent until proven guilty, and she believes the evidence will exonerate him. Dale Russell, Fox 5 News.
Okay, now let me read you the article now that you've heard the voice recordings. Atlanta, Fox 5. The Fox 5 I-Team brings a rare glimpse behind bars in a case involving a man accused of stalking a newly elected legislator. The I-Team has obtained jailhouse phone calls in which an Atlanta music and movie businessman accused of stalking Representative Mesha Mainor lashes out at her while in jail. Fox 5 obtained jailhouse calls through the Georgia Open Records Act. In 2019, Mesha Mainor was running for Atlanta City Council when she told a volunteer campaign worker he could no longer work for her. The campaign volunteer, Corwin Monson, on his Instagram page, was promoting the Lucrea nightclub, according to his LinkedIn page. He is the managing partner of the bar and owner of both film and music companies. He immediately retaliated against me. He filed an ethics complaint against me. He went to work with the other campaign, said Mainor. Mainor said it got worse. She filed a petition for a protective order in July of 2019, claiming Corwin Monson showed up to Pease, her home, on average 2 to 3 times a week, joined her church, calls 10 times a day, and warned her that he was going to F her up. A judge granted her request. It really got to the point where I had to have my volunteers be my bodyguard, Mainor said. Weeks later, Mainor filed a police report claiming Monson violated a restraining order. She claims Monson showed up at her church, Friendship Baptist, sitting in the church, just looking at her. According to this police report, Atlanta officers arrested Monson at a local restaurant on a felony aggravated stalking charge. He was released on bond. Now, he was arrested, remember, on a felony stalking charge, and he was released on bond. But it didn't end there. Monson was arrested again a year later on another aggravated stalking charge for contacting Representative Mainor via Facebook, according to this police report. Monson was locked up again in December of last year. He is still in jail after pleading not guilty and is awaiting trial. Praise God, he is in jail. I feel a little bit safer, said Mainor. A month after the arrest, Mesha Mainor was sworn in as the new state representative from the 56th district in Atlanta. While Representative Mainor waits for her stalking case to go to trial, the I-Team got a rare glimpse into what is going on behind these jailhouse walls. Through an open records request, recordings of phone calls made by Corwin Monson from jail to his wife and attorney were obtained. In the calls, he lashed out about the woman he is accused of stalking. I don't want that itch being no state representative. Keep the bee out of the state house. Now, let's play hardball, said Monson on a one jailhouse call. Get over here. Inmates make calls from jail, but are told up front someone could be listening. Still, Monson showed anger in one call with his wife and to his attorney at the time, Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington. He claimed Mesha Mainor lied under oath during a hearing and stole lawn equipment from him. She told us both claims are not true. One of the calls, Corin Munson said he will stay in prison for 10 years if he has to get back at her. I want that be shut down, said Munson. The Fox 5 I-Team let Representative Mainor hear the recording. The fact that he would say he would stay in jail for 10 years out of sheer hatred for me, that's crazy. If a judge lets him out, what do you think he's going to do to me? Said Mainor. Then at the end of one conversation, Munson tells his wife he wants Representative Mainor criminally charged with theft and perjury. Our fight is you got to take that effing B out. I'm not playing no effing games with this H. Oh, said Munson. Representative Mainor once again finds it threatening. That needs to go to the DA's office. He's telling a Fulton County commissioner, I want to take a citizen out. How would that make you feel? Said Mainor. Commissioner Marvin Arrington withdrew as the attorney in Corin Munson's case and did not respond to requests for comment. Munson's new attorney, Christy Gladden, wrote us to say, we have only heard the prosecution side of the story, and her client is innocent until proven guilty. She is confident the evidence will ultimately exonerate Mr. Munson. A trial date has yet to be set in the case. Isn't that something?
Stalking.
And here we have him being sentenced to jail.
Case that a state representative says has been a living hell for her has come to an end. Representative Mesha Mainor told a judge before the sentence was handed down that she still fears for her life. Senior I-Team reporter Dale Russell followed the case and was in court when the sentence was announced.
The whole thing has just been a nightmare.
Georgia State Representative Mesha Mainor sat on the back row of a crowded courtroom and watched a man accused of stalking her plead no contest to aggravated stalking charges. Corwin Monson, who violated an earlier protective order and has been locked up in jail, will soon be eligible to get out.
He is not a stand-up guy. He is a bully. He is a rabbit.
And an emotional Representative Mainor told the judge she thinks Corwin Monson will ultimately kill her.
So I will have a gun, and the police officers that I know have said if once you shoot the gun, you got to shoot to kill.
It all started in 2019 when Mesha Mainor was running to be an Atlanta City Councilwoman when she told a volunteer campaign worker he could no longer work for her.
Tonight, it's $3 Saturday right here at the Cool. Y'all know how we do it.
This is the volunteer, Corwin Monson, on his Instagram page promoting the La Cura nightclub. According to his LinkedIn page, he's the managing partner of the bar and owner of both film and music companies.
He immediately started retaliating against me. He filed an ethics complaint against me. He went to work with the other campaign.
Mainor says it got worse. She filed a petition for a protective order in July of 2019, claiming Corwin Monson showed up to her home on average 2 to 3 times a week, joined her church, called 10 times a day, and warned her that he was going to f her up. A judge granted her request.
It really got to the point where I had to have my volunteers be my bodyguards.
Monson violated the order and ended up in jail. Mesha Mainor went on to win a seat as a member of the State House of Representatives.
How do you plead to that count?
No.
Friday morning, Monson brought the case to an end. He entered a negotiated plea of NOLO, or no contest, to aggravated stalking and violation of a protective order. NOLO means he doesn't admit guilt, but he will accept the judge's punishment.
People come after me when he gets out.
After hearing Representative Mainor ask for a tougher sentence and express fears for her life, Judge Kelly Lee Ellerby added a psychological evaluation of Monson to the negotiated plea, and she gave Monson a stern warning.
No contact at all with Ms. Mainor. No contact directly. No contact indirectly. No sending her a message through another person.
Judge Ellerby sentenced Corwin Monson to serve 1 year of a 3-year sentence, 2 years on probation. But because he's been in the Fulton County Jail for about 10.5 months, he'll be out in a month and a half. From the Fulton County Courthouse, Dale Russell, Fox 5 News.
So y'all heard that he was in jail 10.5 months. So they're gonna let him come out. Well, he's already out because this happened back in 2 years ago. So this is so very unfortunate. Okay, let's look at.
Thank you guys for coming out today. My name is Representative Mesha Mainor.
You guys hear this one,
I
but
have with me Representative
we're not going to do that one. I don't want this to be a real long video, and I want to read this. I want to read this to you guys. Okay, as you can see, this is Fulton County Superior Court. It was filed April 2nd, 2024, 12:02 p.m. And this is in the Superior Court of Fulton County, Mesha Mainor, plaintiff, versus Fulton County Ethics Board, Fulton County District Attorney's Office, Marvin Arrington, individually and in his official capacity as Fulton County Commissioner for District 5, Fonnie Willis, individually and in her official capacity as Fulton County District Attorney, defendants. And so she's filing it against all of the officials who she believed, and so do I, failed her. Comes now Mesha Mainor, plaintiff by and through counsel of record to redress deprivations by defendant, acting under color of law of certain rights secured to plaintiff as alleged herein under United States Constitution and 42 U.S.C. 1983, and asserts as follows. Number 1, jurisdiction and venue. This court has personal jurisdiction over defendants and venue is proper. Number 2, the parties. Plaintiff Mesha Mainor resides in the state of Georgia and is subject to the jurisdiction of this court. Number 2, defendant Fulton County, Georgia is within the state of Georgia and is responsible for the funding and operation of the Fulton County Ethics Board and is responsible for overseeing and managing the actions of Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington. defendant Fulton County may be served with process through office of the county attorney at 141 Pryor Street, Southwest Suite 4083, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, and is subject to the jurisdiction of this court. Number 3. Defendant Fulton County Ethics Board, hereinafter referred to as Ethics Board, is a board created pursuant to a resolution of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, resolution number 0311531, adopted February 4th, 2004, pursuant to the Code of Ethics for Fulton County. To the extent the Board of Ethics is the judicial entity, service may be made by service on any of the members. The Ethics Board is subject to the jurisdiction of this court. Number 4, defendant Fulton County District Attorney's Office, hereinafter referred to as the DA's Office of the District Attorney's Office, is within the state of Georgia and is responsible for prosecuting felony crimes that occur within Fulton County, Georgia, on behalf of the state of Georgia. The DA's office may be served with process through the office of the county attorney at 141 Pryor Street, Southwest, Suite 4083, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, and is subject to the jurisdiction of this court. Number 5, defendant Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington, hereinafter referred to as Commissioner, is responsible for the overseeing and governance of District 5 of Fulton County, Georgia. The Commissioner is also responsible for injuring plaintiff under the color of law and was deliberately indifferent to her needs and violated her constitutional rights. Commissioner Arrington can be served through the office of the county attorney at 141 Pryor Street, Southwest, Suite 4083, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, and is subject to jurisdiction of this court. One moment. Thank you for waiting. Number 6. Defendant District Attorney Fonnie Willis, hereinafter referred to as D.A. Willis, is responsible for the adjudication of felony cases committed in Fulton County, Georgia, on behalf of the state of Georgia. D.A. Willis may be served with process through the office of the county attorney at 141 Pryor Street, Southwest, Suite 4083, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, and is subject to the jurisdiction of this court. Number 7, on November 3rd, 2021, plaintiff gave ante litem notice to Fulton County, the Ethics Board, and Commissioner. On January 22nd, 2022, plaintiff gave ante litem notice to D.A. Willis and the DA's office. Plaintiff has complied with all conditions precedent to bringing this action. Number 8, defendants above have waived any defense of sovereign immunity by the purchase of liability insurance or otherwise. So what is claimed that the sovereignty belonged to the state when actually the sovereignty belongs to the people. And the way they do, people that learn the truth of how it works, they call you a name that is not applicable to you, which would be one of a sovereign citizen. There is no such thing as a sovereign citizen. You are a sovereign and you're a national, indigenous to the land, but you're not a sovereign citizen. So don't ever use those two together, because that is some group that came up with rebelling against the Constitution. Your promise is to uphold the Constitution, because the Constitution actually comes from a treaty of peace and friendship. It comes from our laws, Proctor. And so we must adhere to the laws. Nature's law, nature's God. So you got to adhere to the law. Statement of the facts. And again, let me state this before I go further. I'm not an attorney. I don't practice law. I am not a lawyer. I do not give legal advice. I research, I read, and I share my knowledge from my point of view. Statement of the facts. A. Underlying criminal case in which plaintiff Mainor is the victim. Number 9. Plaintiff Mainor is a state representative for the Georgia House of Representatives. Number 10. In 2019, plaintiff Mainor ran a campaign for the elected seat she now holds. Number 11. In January 2019, plaintiff Mainor hired Mr. Corwin Munson as a campaign volunteer. Number 12. Prior to working on plaintiff Mainor's campaign together, plaintiff Mainor and Munson were associates for several years and had many friends in common. Number 13. Munson assured plaintiff Mainor that he could help her get elected to her desired position. 14. However, in February 2019, plaintiff Mainor was forced to terminate Mr. Munson from his volunteer position after witnessing his unruly, belligerent behavior. Number 15. Mr. Munson began to stalk plaintiff Mainor after she fired him. Number 16. Specifically, Munson would show up uninvited at campaign events. He joined plaintiff's church, and he would even sit outside of her home. Well, we know that anywhere the public is invited, then anyone in the public can come. And of course, a church is open to whosoever will. Sitting outside of her home could be an issue, although if he's on the city streets, he has the right to be on the city streets. But what he does not have the right to do is to put fear in her and to deprive her of life, liberty, and property and the pursuit of happiness. That's what he does not have a right to do. Number 17. Munson also called plaintiff Mainor from several different numbers and left her several voicemails. Munson later turned these voicemails into a song. And that sounds amazing. I really want to hear that song, because this man here is just really gone according to what this sounds like. You make the voicemails out of a song, and I can make a song out of anything, so I know that it can happen. But can you imagine? Number 18. Munson admitted that he was in love with plaintiff Mainor, and he even showed up at her home once and proposed to her in front of her minor children. But remember, on the jail call, he lost the right to attorney-client privilege because his wife was on the phone. So how is he going to marry her? Number 19. Although plaintiff Mainor and Munson had known each other for several years, they had never had a romantic relationship. Number 20. In June 2019, Mr. Munson was cited for criminal trespass after coming to plaintiff Mainor's home and refusing to leave her property. Number 21. In August 2019, plaintiff Mainor filed a temporary protective order against Mr. Munson. A judge granted plaintiff Mainor the TPO against Mr. Munson. In September 2019 and September 2020, Mr. Munson was arrested for violating the TPO. Number 23. In September 2020, the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, the DA's office or District Attorney's Office, indicted Mr. Munson for aggravated stalking for violating plaintiff Mainor's TPO. In January 2021, the DA office indicted Mr. Munson for a second aggravated assault charge, of which plaintiff Mainor was the victim. For the two cases, Munson was facing up to 20 years in prison. So the first conviction he received was from the old DA, the one who had just left office. And now here comes the new DA, Fonnie Willis, in 2021, and her office had indicted him. And I remember she telling one of the reporters that she didn't indict anybody for the first 90 days of her coming into office because everything needed a proper investigation. But this man was indicted in 2021. Be that as it may, and this was January 2021 at that. So these people tell a lot of misstatements under penalties of perjury. That is a crime. In the courtroom, you don't generally call the person a lie, although that's what they're telling. It's generally known as penalty of perjury, and that's when you tell something that is not true. So it's amazing how you can find these things on these people. Number 24. On information and belief, Mr. Munson is a close friend and associate of defendant Commissioner Arrington. Number 25. In October 2020, Mr. Munson hired defendant Commissioner Arrington as his defense attorney in the September 2020 aggravated stalking case. Now, how could he hire this man and he was an elected official? I'll never know. According to the Constitution, he's not supposed to hold office. And according to their oath of office, he's not supposed to hold office as well. 2026. An assistant district attorney, ADA, on Mr. Munson's case informed plaintiff Mainor of the influence defendant Commissioner Arrington wielded in the district attorney's office. 27. One moment, please. Okay, thank you for waiting. Commissioner Arrington, on number 27, used his influence to circumvent the office policies of the district attorney's office, including intimidating the ADAs by copying the district attorney on emails, negotiating plea deals directly with the district attorney instead of the ADAs, and demanding meetings with the district attorney when ADAs refused to bend to his will. Now, as you know, the district attorney is the person that's voted in office. So that is the actual DA. Everybody that works under the district attorney is considered the assistant DA, and that's where the ADA comes from, assistant district attorney. Now, Adrian Love, I understand, is the chief deputy assistant district attorney, so she would be second in line if something should possibly happen to the DA while it's time running, not at an election, because then they will be voting her back in or another DA. Number 28. Fulton County residents hire Commissioner Arrington as a defense attorney because of the power he is able to yield, and I think they mean wield, in the district attorney's office. Number 29. As the Fulton County Commissioner, Defendant Commissioner Arrington is responsible for managing, setting, and releasing the budget for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. So that means that's a conflict of interest. There is no way that you could be fighting against your own interests when you're the one who determines whether they get the money or not. Boy, these people are a piece of work in Fulton County. And again, I'm sure it's like that throughout the United States all over, but none is so transparent, or I should say visible, because they're not transparent, visible. They've been uncovered, and it's ugly. Number 30. For example, on July 14th, 2021, DA Willis went before the Board of Commissioners, including Arrington, to request more money from Fulton County to hire more staff. During that meeting, Arrington passionately advocated for money to be released to the DA's office. At one point during the meeting, Arrington states, F, the lowest millage rate? I don't give a darn about the lowest millage rate. Where's the money the DA office needs? And that's the video that I showed you guys. Number 31. As a Fulton County Commissioner, Defendant Commissioner Arrington is also responsible for managing, setting, and releasing the budget for Fulton County judges. Number 32. Although Defendant Commissioner Arrington has these duties, he also serves as a defense attorney for criminal defendants within Fulton County. Number 33. There's something wrong with that, y'all, with him practicing law. There's something wrong with that. I believe, I don't know their constitution, so perhaps their constitution goes against the federal constitution, which is, I just don't know where that happens, because normally the statutes all line up, whatever the state statutes are. So I can't imagine that taking place. Be that as it may, we just heard what he does in 32. In 33, when Defendant Commissioner Arrington serves as a defense attorney in Fulton County, he is paid by criminal defendants for their defense. So he's paid by the county for giving them the budget, and then the criminals pay him to defend them. Okay. Or let's say the potential criminals, because as we all know, we all are under the presumption of innocent until proven guilty in a court of law by our peers. So that does not make you a criminal because you're charged with a criminal offense. So I want to get that straight. Number 34. From November 2020 through October 2021, Defendant Commissioner Arrington unduly influenced the criminal proceedings of both the aggravated stalking cases on behalf of Mr. Munson in the following ways. Now, remember when it started, Paul Howard, who was the DA at the time, gave him, that's who he dealt with before. Now, you're going to be coming down where she's going to break it down. And it starts here in 35, so let's see what she says. First, Defendant Commissioner Arrington used his influence to broker a plea deal with then Fulton County District Attorney Mr. Paul Howard. Paren A. The plea deal the Defendant Commissioner Arrington negotiated with Mr. Howard was not presented to the Commissioner's opposing counsel, the Assistant District Attorney on the case. B. In pertinent part, the alleged plea deal would have allowed Mr. Munson to plead guilty to a misdemeanor, although he was charged with a violent felony. And here they over here just making up charges with violating the Sixth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment, putting these young men in double jeopardy. And everybody only looks at the criminal aspect of it, not looking at these young men. The majority of them have already been sentenced, or they pled and had a bargain and served it out. Amazing. Or they're under the plea now. And what they're trying to do is impeach these young men to send them back to prison. So this DA's office, this is, as the lady said in the meeting, this is the culture of the DA's office, it appears. And it looks like Fonnie, who promised that she cared about the children, she wanted to get rid of the gangs by offering programs, first offender programs, that they never saw any of that money. That's what that whistleblower is about with Congress right now. This is very interesting to me, and I hope it's interesting to you guys. Maybe it'll give us more of a oomph to get involved in the political process, if nothing else but just start reading the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and then reading the other amendments that follows. It is very, very, very necessary that we understand the politics that runs the nation, because it is the politics that keeps us in the condition in which we're in, hopeless and dismal. C, the Reverend's plea deal contravened District Attorney's Office policies. D, specifically the District Attorney's Office policy was to only offer misdemeanor pleas in place of felonies only in extraordinary circumstances. E, additionally, the District Attorney's Office policy was to punish repeat violent criminal offenders to the full extent of the law. F, furthermore, one of the District Attorney's Office policy goals was to lower the occurrence of domestic violence against women in Fulton County, Georgia. So here they have no respect at all for domestic violence against women. And you can see how that plays out just in the way that he was trying to circumvent and contravene the laws. And District Attorney, who ran on protecting the citizens, here she's at the beginning. I mean, 1 week she gets to office, the next week she's pursuing Trump, the next week she's RICOing the musicians. One musician in particular who has not ever received a felony. He grew up in an area, marginalized area is what it's called. He grew up in a marginalized area where we have a disadvantage, and I'll give you the definition of that. It's really sad what's going on in Georgia. And again, I probably could find some of the same stuff in Dallas, but our district attorney doesn't come across like this. As a matter of fact, he came up with a program, an expunction program, where you can get, misdemeanors and things of that nature off of your record. And it works beautifully. It works every year. They hold a big conference, and they let people come and they help them do it at no cost. They just have to pay their fees, of course, because you're going to have to pay the fees. I call America the land of the free and the home of the slave. Some call it the land of the free and the home of the brave. I would love to see people become brave and just stand for their rights. You don't have to do anything wrong. I just showed y'all what the Constitution gives you the right to do under the First Amendment. You have the right to petition your government and the right to peacefully assemble. So there's a lot of ways that you can make things different. But if you don't complain, no one will ever know. And just telling your friend, or ladies and gentlemen, touch your neighbor, is not going to change anything in your community. Number G, Domestic violence against women includes the offense of aggravated stalking. 8. Mr. Munson has a prior criminal history, including a prior aggravated assault charge, which was subsequently reduced to a misdemeanor in a negotiated plea. That should have been an enhancement as opposed to a reduction. And an enhancement is normally what happens with the people that I know that have been convicted of crimes. What you try to do is not commit any new crimes, not for what you're going to get on the new charge, but how they're going to look back and enhance that charge because you have a history of committing crimes. That's just what I've learned from my experience here in the state of Texas. And again, we know that each state has its own constitution, making it its own country. And that's why the laws of the state are very important. And you need to know your state constitution, just like you know the federal constitution. 36. Second, defendant Commissioner Arrington is heard on jail calls with Mr. Munson conspiring to cause the sitting judge on the criminal case, Judge Kelly Lee Ellerby, to be removed. And that's why on the thumbnail I call her Justice, because she was the only one in this situation, it seems like, along with some of the assistant ADAs that she left nameless, seemed like they were trying to get this prosecuted. But, you know, the powers that be were trying to stop it until he realized he was not going to get away with this with state representative who knew a little bit about the law and knew that he should not have been working in both capacities, and he withdrew. Paren A. Defendant Commissioner Arrington encouraged Mr. Munson to file a fraudulent complaint against Judge Kelly Lee Ellerby. B. According to Defendant Commissioner Arrington, Judge Ellerby needed to be removed from Munson's case because it was likely she would reject the misdemeanor plea he had negotiated with Paul Howard. So one thing we do know, for all of those who believe or say they believe in a power greater than them, they call it God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, whatever you call who you believe in, it's going to always be some good people in all places, no matter how bad the place. Because remember, none of us are perfect, but in some areas of life, some of us do things just what we were put there to do, and that's to make it right. Okay. Paren 1. Commissioner Arrington states, the problem is the effing judge, in reference to Judge Ellerby. Paren 2. Judge Ellerby was the only problem because Commissioner Arrington admits he can get the DA to agree to a misdemeanor plea. And remember, he and the DA went to school together. And his father was prominent in the city. And her father was supposedly a prominent attorney. So they grew up in the Special Kids Club, just like they claim the European. It's the same class of people. Does not matter. That's why we need to get away from this race stuff. We really do. We need to look at it for what it's called. It's hegemony. One group dominating over another. Has nothing to do with race. There's only one race, and that's the human race. And we need to acknowledge that. Although I know it's been embedded in our minds to look at each other and not like each other, to show disdain when you see my beautiful, beautiful brown skin. And when my hair wasn't falling out, my beautiful, thick, long hair. But because, I don't know if it was the medication, my illness or what, it started falling out and balling. I just took some clippers and decided to cut it off because I think I'm the most beautiful girl in the world. And I don't do weave and I don't do wigs. So I had to just do me. C. After filing a fraudulent complaint against Judge Kelly Lee Ellerby, Mr. Munson temporarily had criminal procedures held before different judges, including Judge Adams. D. On information and belief, Defendant Commissioner Arrington has a personal relationship with Judge Adams. E. On information and belief, Defendant Commissioner Arrington used his influence to have ex parte meetings with Judge Adams. Ex parte meetings mean one-sided. When you're involved in any type of litigation, you have to let the other person know what's going on. You cannot talk to the judge without the other person being present. That's called ex parte. So you cannot do that. And so, F. Prior Assistant District Attorneys, ADAs, on Munson's case informed Plaintiff Mainor that Judge Adams' engagement with Munson and Arrington during a hearing was unlike her typical demeanor, as she was deferential to them and allowed outbursts from them both. Ooh. So she sounds like Love and Willis, the dynamic duo, or the detrimental duo. Number 37. Third, on jail calls between Commissioner Arrington and Munson, Commissioner Arrington agrees to use his influence to get Munson the favorable outcome. A. Commissioner Arrington states that he will use his father's, Marvin Arrington Sr., a former Fulton County Superior Court judge, influence to sway the proceedings. So everybody is riding on Daddy's name and Daddy's reputation. B. Defendant Commissioner Arrington also insinuates that his position as commissioner will result in a favorable result for Mr. Munson. Oh, this is deep. Number 38. Fourth, during jail calls, Defendant Commissioner Arrington admits to telling Fannie Willis, who was the district attorney-elect at the time, about the case with Mr. Munson in advance of her being sworn in. Before she was ever sworn in. Remember, they were college buddies. And, she said they partied because, remember, she and Robin Yearty, they didn't go to the same college, but they showed partied when Robin came home to D.C. B. Therefore, Commissioner Arrington used his influence to bias Miss Willis against Plaintiff Mainor. Number 39. Fifth, during these same jail calls, Commissioner Arrington encouraged Munson's wife, Miss Alicia Munson, to harass Plaintiff Mainor. Plaintiff Mainor later sought a protective order against Miss Munson. So here this woman is married to this man who's going after another woman, and she's doing his bidding. Tell me if something is not wrong with that picture. I skipped on 38, A. The commissioner states that he wants Miss Willis to know that that itch is crazy, which is a reference to Plaintiff Mainor. Number 40. After the referenced jail calls were publicly released in December 2020, Defendant Commissioner Arrington resigned as Mr. Munson's attorney. See, long as he was doing that behind the, you know how they say with the police, it's the thin blue line? I don't know what line they draw in the judiciary. But long as he was behind, I guess, the iron curtain of the judiciary, then he could do what he wanted to do. But once it became public, then he knew he was open to scrutiny. #41. In January 2021, District Attorney Madam Fonnie Willis was sworn in as the Fulton County District Attorney. As the top prosecuting official in Fulton County, DA Willis became responsible for the adjudication of Munson's criminal case. Number 2, Paren 2. DA Willis drops the ball. Negotiated plea for Munson. So she went with the plea deal. She's a plea woman. And remember, I've been doing a series on plea deals under the federal statutes and guidelines, but they apply both ways. Both ways, you're losing your right to a fair trial. And they are making it so that we cannot even afford to have representation because we can't afford to pay what the attorneys must charge, because they spend a lot of money going to school learning the law, only to find out that they're being handcuffed by that very law that they went to learn, because they're beholden to the bar and not to you, the client. And once you can get that around your head, I say you just need to start reading the law, just because now we're in what we call the information age, and you can just Google whatever you want to know. You can Google it. And that's what you should do, is Google. Even if you don't understand it, just read it and 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 read it. Get the dictionary, look up every single word in a sentence. Every single word in a statute. Look it up. Because there are things they call legalese. They have their own language. You may think you're saying the same word that you use every day, like person. But if you look up person in the law dictionary, you will find that it could be an association, a corporation, organization, a partnership. So it's things like that that you really must know. And also the law dictionary I was taught by my mentor is the law dictionary is closer to the etymon, which is the origin of a word. I heard someone say, forget about those old dictionaries. No, 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 no. Please don't listen to that. You need the old dictionaries, because just because the word, they're no longer using it, that's the reason they're not using it, because they don't want you knowing truth. But truth has no versions. It is what it is. And you can always add to something, but you don't ever want to take away. 42. Although Defendant Commissioner Arrington stepped down as Mr. Munson's criminal attorney, he continued to wield influence over the criminal case. Namely, he maintained that Mr. Paul Howard offered Mr. Munson a plea deal consisting of the alleged felony being reduced to a misdemeanor. Number 43. Mr. Munson's successful counsel repeatedly referenced this plea deal in a subsequent court proceedings against the state. Number 44. Mr. Munson's subsequent counsel argued that the district attorney's office should stand behind this alleged plea deal, even after Ms. Fonnie Willis assumed her position as the Fulton County District Attorney. Number 45. Although Munson ultimately was not offered the misdemeanor plea deal, DA Willis did dismiss one of his aggravated stalking cases. On the remaining aggravated stalking case, DA Willis offered Munson a plea of 3 years to serve 1 in prison, the balance on probation, with credit for the time he had already served. Number 46. Plaintiff Mainor was not informed of the plea deal extended to Mr. Munson's prior to him accepting, which is a violation of Georgia's Crime Victims Bill of Rights, OCGA 17. And see, your rights are very important in any lawful rule that can affect your life, your liberty, your property, and your pursuit of happiness must come with some form of rights and appeals rights to whatever it is. And I learned that I'm not an attorney again. I don't practice law, but I was a revenue officer for the Internal Revenue Service, U.S. Department of Treasury. For 8 years, I worked in the field. I worked for the IRS longer, but I was on the phones in customer service. I was a revenue officer in the field where I went and made visits. And one thing that we had to do is make sure that everybody had a publication one. And that was your rights as a taxpayer that Bill Clinton gave to the people in 1976 is when he signed that into law. I believe that's when that was. It was right during that 74, 76 period of the omnibus where our great President Biden called our children little roaches and said that they need to be locked up. Yeah, he was a part of that mandatory minimum sentences where they was giving out 24 and 25 years and took most of the power from the federal judges. And we had a great exodus of federal judges because they had no power. And that's basically what I'm talking about on each show when I start out with the Sixth Amendment. And it's the trial penalty is what it's called. Very interesting. And I know everybody is not going to like this, but if you're a person who want to know, need to know, or know someone that needs to know, share the video, like it, make a comment. I would greatly appreciate it. 17-1, also known as Mary's Law, which provides individuals who are victims of certain crimes specific rights. 47. Additionally, Plaintiff Mainor did not approve of the negotiated plea deal extended to Mr. Munson. 48. Mary's Law applies to victims of aggravated stalking, OCGA 17-17-1. 49. In September 2021, Mr. Munson pled no contest to aggravated stalking. He received credit for the time he had already served. Number 50. Mr. Munson's plea deal was not appropriate according to Ms. Willis, inter-office policies, or her stated priority of protecting women. Ms. Willis, by her own words, created the first domestic violence unit in Fulton County. Could be true, could not be, I don't know. 51. Additionally, the negotiated plea Ms. Willis offered Mr. Munson did not align with the office's sentencing guidelines. Number 52. On information and belief, it is not the district attorney's office policy to offer a 1-year jail sentence to a criminal defendant being charged with a violent crime when that defendant has a prior violent history. But yet they want to send these children off for crimes that they committed, and they were autonomous from Jeffrey Williams, but they want to make them all be the same because they all grew up calling themselves YSL after Yves Saint Laurent. You can make it be whatever it came out to be or whatever you say it is, but that's what he said. That's where he got it from, and the guys like the way he dressed, and he has the flair for fashion. I'm not saying these guys wasn't doing the things that they were doing, and they're not saying it either. Most of them have done time for what they've done. He did not do it, nor did he order it, he says, and I believe this young man. I'm just going to go with my belief, just like they're going with theirs. We both have a right to believe whatever we choose to believe. Oh, and I have something great to tell y'all, too. I mean, it was awesome. Number 53. Furthermore, Mr. Munson's shortened probation sentence was not consistent with the office policy of recommending a longer probation sentence to men convicted of domestic violence in an effort to protect women longer. I don't think she really cared about the woman. 54. DA Willis and the DA office failed to properly investigate the aggravated stalking charges against Mr. Monson. Specifically, they failed to interview a single person who had witnessed Monson's behavior toward plaintiff Mainor. And then you had a detective on there online talking about a witness. What witness? Is it his truth or is it your truth? I mean, boy, these people are ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Number 55. Representatives from the DA's office made fraudulent representations in court in favor of Monson. Well, we know that that's true. She started out like that, according to this, because the judge in President Trump's case said she has an odor of mendacity. Liar, liar, pants on fire, Judge Judy would say. Paren 3. Plaintiff Mainor's disparate treatment as a victim. Due to defendant Commissioner Arrington's interference in the underlying criminal case, plaintiff Mainor has experienced disparate treatment under the law as a victim. 57. Furthermore, due to DA Willis' bias towards Mr. Arrington, plaintiff Mainor has experienced disparate treatment under the law as a victim. Number 58. Plaintiff Mainor has been forced to advocate for herself and her safety, although that is the district attorney's role. Specifically, plaintiff Mainor took the following actions. And all of these actions of these people seem to be political. And a lot of us know nothing about politics, so we don't see it that way. But for the few of us that know a little bit, we see it. And we're getting down to, like a 70 something. So I'm going to have this actual, I believe, I'm going to try to have this link in here, or I'll finish reading it later, because I want to show you guys a little of what I've seen in the Senate hearings where they're getting ready to subpoena Fani Willis at the Senate hearings about all this money, but they're trying to get the documents together. So I want to show y'all a little bit of that. So I'm going to stop here. And where did we stop? I think it was 69. Oh, I got to go on this page. Nope. Mm-mm. 169, because they're talking about the bar complaint. So it must have been 56. We read the disparate treatment. 58. Okay, 58A. Okay, I'm going to read to 59. I'm going to read to 60. Paren A. In August 2020, plaintiff Mainor was forced to notify the United States Department of Justice Office on violence against women due to the district attorney's office failure to properly prosecute Monson's case at its inception. Paren B. In October 2020, plaintiff Mainor called Monson's bail company to inform them that he had violated his bond conditions by being rearrested. Judge Ellerby later revoked defendant's bond. Paren C. On October 21st, 2020, plaintiff Mainor filed a bar complaint with the State Bar of Georgia alleging that defendant Commissioner Arrington uses his elected position to sway deals as a criminal defense attorney. And Paren D. On October 24th, 2020, plaintiff Mainor filed an ethics complaint against Commissioner Arrington, alleging that he had violated several ethics rules during the adjudication of the state's case against Monson. See paragraph 69. 59. Plaintiff Mainor had to attend more than 10 hearings from October the 20th through September 24th, 2021, regarding the adjudication of the criminal case against Mr. Monson. in part due to defendant Commissioner Arrington's several attempts to circumvent and influence the criminal justice process. And 60, Plaintiff Mainor also had 6 different ADAs on her case. The last ADA who took Munson's plea was ADA Yolanda Mack, according to Fulton County Deputy District Attorney Jill Hollander. The bouncing around of Plaintiff Mainor's case was unusual. And that's where I'm going to stop at 60. And so what I'll do is I'll finish reading this up when I take up Sunday's show. And so let me just highlight 61. This is really sad. And we all should be appalled. I wish the people of Fulton County was upset and would vote according to what they know. And if you don't know anybody, then start out fresh. You know, you don't have to keep going to the same well. You don't have to do it. Hello. Okay now. So now, as we get ready to come to a close, I wanted you all to hear some of what they were saying today at the meeting. And let me see.
More likely expert witnesses, e.g. professional services. And
this is when she was asking for the money. So I want y'all to hear some of this that this lady is reading. I'm not playing the whole thing, but I will have the, I'll put it in the description. It's on YouTube, and it was on earlier today. And you know, what happened with the state representative? Can you imagine being a state representative and getting treated like this? Nobody should get treated like this. Remember, there is no respecter of persons when it comes to doing right. There are certain privileges that comes when you're in a different position than others. But when it comes to doing right, there's no respect of persons. We all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and to be protected under the law. At least that's what we're told. That's what they run on. But that's certainly not what happens. But I want y'all to hear some of this, because if these figures don't make you contact anybody you know in Georgia and tell them, hey, look, if you all haven't voted, y'all might need to wait and go and check this lady out. Do not vote for this group. Do not keep putting Arrington back in office. Do not keep putting judges that are so biased that they can't even hear truth. I think these people are going for TikTok, YouTube, IG, and Instagram X views. Remember, that's why Fonnie Willis had Robin Yearty. She paid her $10,000 of the taxpayers' money so that she could monitor her social media. These people are enamored with social media. I mean, really, I don't know what's real and what's fake anymore. It's almost hard to tell. But truth, trust me, it stands. Whether you win, lose, or draw, you go with truth. Because you may have just lost that little old battle, but the war ain't over. It's what you're willing to do for you that's going to determine the outcome of you. And you got to always believe in you. If you don't believe in nobody and nothing else. My favorite line is, to thine own self be true. And if you're true to yourself, you'll be true to everybody. That's what you learn. You learn we have a purpose and we need to fulfill it the best of our ability. Some of us don't come into the knowledge of our purpose. I don't know why. But for those of us that do, live it. to the fullest. If you like what you heard so far, please, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. It's free. Like really helps us get our information out, and it lets YouTube know that people are engaging and are interested in what we have to say. I'm only on twice a week live, and sometimes I make videos and sometimes I don't. I don't have a lot of energy sometimes, so I don't. And that's one thing I love about doing what I do, because I do it when I get ready. I try, though, to keep up with what's going on, but it's so much going on these days. I just do the best I can and hope that somebody is interested in hearing my take on what's going on. So I appreciate each and every one of you for clicking in for 1 minute. Hopefully you'll stay longer than 26 seconds. Hopefully you would stay for a whole 3 hours, 2 hours, or an hour. However long you stay. I want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Let me let you hear some of these dollars and cents that this lady was getting.
To have to retry a case that had been a high-profile case, as well as the gang matters that she has. I think there are a couple of those, and the elections, the elections interference matter as well. But again, it was a lump sum, not specific with line item details.
So you think that was in her budget request, perhaps in 23? Are we talking about Young Thug trial that's been it's gone on forever and ever so far, or different gang related?
I believe there is more than one.
These people are giving out millions of dollars and don't even know what they're giving out millions for. She believes it's more than one, but it's only one in Fulton County. She does not even know. She doesn't deserve to be on the board any longer. And let me just say for the record, that is one woman's opinion.
Gang-related, large-scale prosecutorial matter. But yes, sir, that would be one of them.
And you think she may have also itemized the election interference case would require additional funds, or categorize that as an area of needed funding?
Yes, sir. Again, I would have to go back and look. Well, I don't, because...
You don't have to go back anymore. You've got your right-hand woman right there to help you.
So, yes, sir. That was Sabrina McTeer, the county's budget manager. So this is from the 23 budget enhancement request. And the description says, and I'll just read it, the general rule, the more complicated a case, the more likely expert witnesses, e.g. professional services, are needed. That was in parentheses. State versus Tex MacGyver has been remanded to this office. This case alone cost $675,000 in professional services. I have this case and several anti-corruption cases that are being litigated in 23. It is sufficient to enhance this budget, and the request was $1.1 million.
So that was for Tex MacGyver and any other public corruption case?
Yes, sir. So that's the kind of description that I was perhaps not doing a very good job of expressing, but
you're doing great. And as far as your recollection, Chairman Pitts, is that she never named that she would need a special prosecutor on any election interference case?
Not that I recall, sir.
Certainly never told you the names of who she might be hiring or how much she was going to have to pay them?
Not that I recall, sir.
Did she make other budget enhancement requests back in 2023, 21, or 22? I can't remember exactly when she was sworn in. Y'all know that?
Madam DA was sworn in and began her term in 2021. So we did receive enhancement requests from her for the 22 budget cycle, the 23, and the 24.
Okay. What was the $5 million enhancement request for clearing up homicide backlogs? Do y'all recall that? That was testified to here last meeting.
That was a request that came through in the middle of 2021. She requested additional staff to support a number of items, the outstanding homicide situation being one of them. Ultimately, in 2021, through a budget amendment process that we call budget soundings, the Board of Commissioners did authorize her to have funding for an additional 55 positions.
Wow.
It was a mix of attorneys, investigators, and administrative support personnel. And in 21, the cost that was necessary to begin to onboard those positions, because she would not be able to do all 55 at one time, was less than $800,000. I think the budget soundings was $780,000 and some change. But the full annual cost for that is the $5 million. And so we built that in then to her 2022 budget with the full year funding for all of the positions that the board awarded her mid-year in 2021.
And was there any mention in that $5 million enhancement request that that would be needed for any type of public corruption investigation?
I will have to go back to the source document to confirm that.
What do you call that source document? Because I'm going to want to make sure I have adequately identified what I need to be produced.
I would call it a budget soundings request.
Okay. And can you provide those to me without me submitting an additional subpoena? I think they're included in what I've asked for. I may not have been as specific because I didn't know what to call it.
Yes, sir. I had intended to include the 2021 soundings information as part of the request for the budget information that was already included.
And you can just follow up and get that to me or Secretary Cook at your convenience. And if you would do that for any of those sounding requests for 21, 22, 23, and 24, just to keep me up to speed. Because, Chairman Pitts, what I am hearing from you is that the Board of Commissioners never got any kind of specific request for additional funding to prosecute any election interference cases, other than that generic $1 million, in 23.
Not that I recall, sir.
And no specific information about who needed to be hired as an independent contractor or what they would cost. I understand Governor Barnes was too expensive, and I just didn't know if that's that y'all figured that out or she ruled him out for that reason.
No, not that I recall.
I am subject to hiring a man.
He's a gun for hire if anybody out there is paying attention, and pleasure to have you in the audience with us today, Governor Barnes. And I'm just wanting us to get a feel and for exactly how much oversight there is. It sounds like it's very loose as far as employment practices and expenditures for independent contractors.
Yeah, that information doesn't come before the board.
Right. only you have to peel it out in these soundings and in the annual audit and in the budget submissions as she gives you the categories of what she needs.
That's correct. And when budget soundings come before the board, there's a little more detail and more specifics.
Right. Probably pretty difficult politically for you and the Board of Commissioners to reject a request for needed funding to clear up a backlog in homicide cases, right?
Well, I mean, we had such a tremendous number of cases that were so-called, they've been there for up in the thousands. And we decided that the $75 million from the ARPA funds has already been referenced by Ms. Whitmore.
Right.
So in order to, we threw 75 million of the, I think we received a total federal allocation of about 206 million in ARPA funds, and 75 million of that 206 million went to the justice system. And the justice system meaning everything that the CFO has outlined.
So that was back in the fall of 2021. It was about the same time Mr. Wade was being hired. And it wasn't mentioned to you that any of the enhanced money was going to go towards Mr. Wade or any other special prosecutor to prosecute election interference.
No, it was my understanding that that 75 million was to be used for the justice system, and specifically, sort of specifically, to reduce the tremendous backlog that we had.
And there was a $5 million enhancement that was from county funds, not the ORCA funds, or is that the same money?
Is that the same money?
No. The 5 million is general fund.
Okay.
County.
And in that request, that was on top of the ORCA funds to get rid of the backlog of homicide cases.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. She actually asked for over 100 positions. When she made the request, and the way in which we addressed it was we already had the backlog program in development, and so we identified a certain number that would be funded through the backlog project out of the ARPA resources, and the balance we provided for out of the county's general fund.
And this is back in the fall of 2021.
Yes, sir.
2 years before her 1.1 million request for public corruption and Tex MacGyver.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did she ever report back to you the progress being made? What kind of bang you were getting for your buck? You're giving her tens of millions of dollars in either ORCA funds or federal, state, county general funds to get rid of this backlog. Did she do it?
I don't recall any specific report back to the board from the district attorney. However, at each meeting of the board, we would receive an update on progress that was being made. That's accurate, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, sir. As part of our global pandemic response, we presented the Board of Commissioners with an update for a while at every board meeting, and then eventually at just one meeting a month to update them on our progress using our ARPA resources, and specifically on the backlog project, showing total backlog cases, progression of those cases through the system. And so we've been reporting on that regularly up until February of this year due to our cyber incident. So we are almost ready to begin that reporting process. Again, the last report that we made of the progress of Project Orca was in January at the second meeting of the Board of Commissioners in January, and that was for progress through the end of 2023.
So would that list the number of homicide cases that are pending and how many are being resolved on a monthly basis?
It doesn't list case type. It lists the total number of projects, the total number of cases by each of the players, if you will, the solicitor, the magistrate court, the district attorney, and then Superior Court and State Court. So we kind of track the progress of the cases from the two prosecutors, from the solicitor and the district attorney into their respective courts, and then we track the progress that the courts themselves are making in fully adjudicating the cases. So that information is all presented to the board in a chart and discussion, and what's happening, all the various different things that we had to do in order to see that line make the progression that we were looking for.
So how many backlog cases were there? Do you have a ballpark to figure how bad this got back in 2021? We're a year into the pandemic. Courts are not trying cases. And oh, wow. You got a full color report there. Is that my notebook?
We'll get an exact number. It was.
We started our drop date that we used to define our backlog cases was December 6, 2021, and we started with a total of 148,209 open and active cases in any stage.
That included solicitor's office
Yes.
that prosecutes
Yes.
misdemeanors.
Across the justice
DA's
system.
office that prosecutes the felony offenses.
Yes, sir.
Does it break them out? How many are state court versus superior court?
The state court, the starting point for the state court was 20,124.
So the vast majority of them, or at least 2/3 of them. What's the superior court?
Superior court was 15,888.
Okay. Then you got magistrate courts as well, I guess.
Magistrate court was 39,435.
That can be everything from a speeding ticket to parking ticket, very minor.
Variety of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
What else you got? Municipal court, I guess.
The solicitor general had 56,462 at the starting point, and the district attorney had 16,300.
Where's the 16.3 now? We're at the end of 2023. Has the DA used all these millions to any good to catch up?
From our report in January, the district attorney's number was 130 cases that were the original ORCA. So this is only tracking the cases that were considered in the ORCA backlog that started at 148. So again, these resources were only supposed to be focused on reducing those cases. There are still new cases, of course, that come into the system since that point in time.
Right.
And this report does not talk about those. This is specifically focused on those ORCA cases.
Those new ones are not funded through the ORCA funding.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense.
For who?
Start for the DA, you started at 16,300 and ended up with 130?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was from all-
December 6th of 2021 through 12/31/2023.
And we can't discern whether they're dismissed cases, whether they're plea bargain cases, or trials to a verdict.
Not from this report, no, sir.
They just got out of the system, resolved one way or another.
So for the district attorney, they were either moved on to Superior Court, which is where her cases would typically go, which means she still has to then prosecute them. But what we were tracking is, the cases that she had were, they were still sitting in, per se, in her queue, if you will. Yeah. So from 16.3 down to 130, they either moved on into the further into the prosecutorial process, or yes, they were dismissed, or whatever the other term is that you would use when a court case doesn't progress, when a matter doesn't progress.
Did your reporting requirements for these ORCA funds require any detail as to the successful completion of a case, whether there was conviction or a plea, or they just dismissed it, or did they break it down for you that way? Or just one lump sum number of these cases are resolved, they're no longer in our system, in our queue?
We did not require that level of reporting to the Board of Commissioners. We do have, I believe, that level of reporting from our criminal justice system, but it's just not included in what we reported to the board.
And does that criminal justice system of Fulton County prepare a report giving those annual updates or dispositions of cases?
They have not. This is something that the executive team worked on. For Project Orca, there was a steering committee that was established that, like the Chief Judge of Superior Court, Chief Judge of State Court, Magistrate Court, Chief Judge, the Clerk of Superior Magistrate Court, they all participated in the steering committee process. Our former COO, Alton Adams, guided them through that process. So there was no explicit reporting requirement for that detailed level of information made by the board to the group, but the board did want to see, the results of their efforts. So, Mr. Alton worked with the judicial partners in developing the information that was reported back to the Board of Commissioners.
So you think that Criminal Coordinating Council, or whatever they're called, kept data that specific as to the outcomes of the cases?
I think it's in our system and can be pulled out. I don't know. I didn't participate in those sessions, so I don't really know what they did with that information.
Who would you recommend me asking to pull that data out? Who should I submit a request for, asked to come testify to us?
Perhaps Mr. Adams, Alton
He's
Adams.
no longer COO.
He is semi-retired. He is continuing to work with the county as a fee-based employee to help us move further down the road with the potential replacement jail project.
Mr. Adams, a fee-based employee? Does that mean he's still working just on an hourly basis?
Yes,
or
sir.
Kind of a consultant?
Okay, that ended that. So there we have it. The story about Fonnie Willis and what's happening with her. the deceit, the treachery, the inhumane treatment of victims, I don't know what else to say. You know, I could think of so many adjectives, but is it necessary? No. I think I've said enough, and I think I've given you all a big picture. I had an article from Arrington that I wanted to read you guys, but I don't see it, so I'm going to get ready to end this recording because it lasted much longer than I had anticipated. But I wanted to give y'all the definition of entertainment. And the definition of entertainment is a form of activity that holds the attention and interest of an audience or gives pleasure and delight. It can be an idea or a task. That's one of the definitions. And another definition that I found that was pretty good is entertainment in the American English. And it is the act of entertaining, agreeable occupation for the mind, diversion, amusement. Number 2, something affording pleasure. And generally, when you give a definition of a word, you would tell the parts of speech. And generally, they would have the parts of speech in which it is. And neither one of these definitions have the parts of speech. So you can take this as an adjective on both definitions. According to what you're doing, it could be a noun. And on that note, I'm going to get ready to close out. I want to thank you all very much, especially if you've gotten skipped and came to the back. I'd greatly appreciate, again, a like, a share, a comment, and a subscription. Even consider joining my membership. It helps me put back into my business. I'm not computer savvy, but I'm trying to find a way to get something that will keep my internet from buffering so much. And so I'm going to find out what's causing it to do that when I show a video so that it can be more smooth. I cannot edit, and believe it or not, I bought me an editing CD, but with my new computer, I ruined my old computer and had to buy a new one. It didn't come with the CD, so when I bought me a CD player to go along with the computer, now I don't know what I did with the CD itself. So I don't know if I'll even do that because I really hate technology, but I realize and I look at people's work and it's so great. It's really good when you see those people come in with the little shenanigans in between, you know, telling the story. It really helps for entertainment value. And so who knows what I may learn. I've learned a lot. Just to be able to do these videos like this is a lot more than I knew when I got here. So I want to thank everybody for coming, especially the newcomers who's just watching, who subscribed, and who returned. I appreciate you so much. And remember, a worker is worthy of his hire. And if you find my work fascinating and something that you can support, please feel free to support my video and my channel. Toothless Tiger is my Cash App. And if you want to send me an email, if you see something or know something that you would want me to cover, that you think that I may be able to cover it for you, where you can understand it, because I'm definitely going to break it down. Unfortunately, that's what I do. Then please hit me up and let me know. I'll be more than happy to do it. And on that note, I'm going to close with one of my favorites. I do a lot of singing, and I sing for myself. I'm not a singer, but I love to sing. And it's 2 songs that I want to put on here. One is The Greatest Love of All, and that's the children. And then one is Mom and a Mother's Love. And so I'm going to do that for all mothers, whether you gave birth or you just mothered someone else's child. I want to say thank you. I am a mother of a 43-year-old son, and I'm most proud. And so I just want to share grace, love, peace, truth, honesty, freedom, justice. I'm leaving the Tiger's Den. Goodbye. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. In a mother's love, you find everything. Everything's alright. To a mother's love, you are bound. You can rest on sacred ground. In a mother's love, you are free to dream, because she sees what you can be. In the mother's love, you see the sun, enough for two, but you're one. In the mother's love, you can feel something hurts. You can heal. Yes, a mother's love is real. you grow, because she knows to let you go. Yeah, mama. Mama, mama, mama. Mother's love. Mother's love. Yeah. All right. A mother's love. And a mother's love never lies. She believes that you can fly with all of her might. A mother's love. Yeah.